Most people think that the teenage brain is the problem. Too emotional, too impulsive, too hard to reach. But what if the research tells us the complete opposite? What if the teenage brain is actually in the most powerful learning window of its entire life? And most parents are completely unaware of it. Stay with me because what I'm about to share changes how you see your teen entirely. So let's dive in. Welcome, I am Dr. Lee, a pediatric health psychologist and the founder of Teen FND Academy, the online coaching program where I help teens with FND and their parents get their lives back. So I recently did this video on why your teen's brain struggles to think clearly, what a lot of families call brain fog, and what is actually happening at the nervous system level when cognition thinking breaks down. And if you haven't seen that video yet, I will link it somewhere above here. And today is the opposite, the other side of the conversation. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why the teenage brain is actually uniquely primed for growth and change in a good way, what the research actually says about how that change happens, and what you as a parent can do to create that conditions that makes it possible. So let me start with that research. Baker and colleagues out of UCLA, where I also graduated from, published a review in 2025 in Developmental Cognitive Neuroscience. That's the name of the article. And here is what they found. They have found a lot of things actually, so I'm just going to summarize it. Puberty does not just change your teen's body. It actually triggers a cascade, like a series of changes in the brain that makes it more adaptable, meaning more changeable than it will ever be again in adulthood, like you and I. So in it, there were 3 specific processes that kick in. One is called synaptic pruning, which is basically the brain trimming away connections it no longer needs so the ones it keeps become faster and more efficient. Number 2 is called myelination, which is basically the brain building this protective coating around its most important neural pathways, making the signals travel faster, like making it a well-oiled machine. The third one is neural reorganization, which is the brain actively reconstructing, restructuring, and resetting its networks to handle more complex thinking, decision-making, and social navigation like friends and family and all of the others. And together, these 3 processes create this window of heightened neuroplasticity. And the key word here is window. It is not permanent thing, but it is time-limited opportunity. And right now, your teen is in it. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that is responsible for planning, decision-making, impulse control, and regulating behavior, and then some, stays highly plastic all the way through mid-adolescence into mid-20s of their ages, which means the very part of the brain that parents often feel most frustrated because of impulsivity, behavior change, and mood and attitude and all of that stuff is also the part that is most actively being shaped right now, because this is the last place they're going to develop inside their brain. And here is the piece that the authors emphasize most clearly, and I was super excited about it. The brain does not change in isolation. It changes in response to what it is repeatedly exposed to. Like what? Social interactions, the home environment, the quality of relationships with other people, the conditions that teen lives in. All of these directly influence how their neural networks organize themselves during this window of opportunity. What gets fired repeatedly gets wired in, literally. In other words, what the teen experiences consistently is what the brain builds towards. And I talk about this all the time on my channel, Neuroplasticity, Teenage Years, a Great Year. The Family Guy shares a handful of practical strategies to help you get out of this survival mode. And it shows why our structured approach gets such a strong result. Grab it from the description below. It is free. Here is the clinical twist I want to offer. And I want to be clear that this is my interpretation as a clinician, not a direct claim from this paper. So Baker and colleagues are writing about adolescent development kind of broadly. But when I read this research, I thought immediately about the teens I work with, teens with FND, chronic fatigue, chronic pain, and other conditions where the nervous system has been under prolonged heightened state, like on high alert. So because here is what the research is telling us, the same plasticity that made the teen brain vulnerable to dysregulation in the first place, including FND symptoms, pain, brain fog, fatigue, and all of the other stuff, is the exact same mechanism that makes it responsive to recovery. It is one coin on two sides. The brain changed in one direction because of what it was repeatedly exposed to when the brain was on a high alert. And that same capacity for change means it can build into a different direction when the conditions shift. And I'll tell you, this is not a false hope, okay? This is a pure neuroscience, and I am so glad I found this article. The teen brain is not broken or stuck. It is malleable, and that changes everything about how we approach recovery. So it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. What are the right conditions they're talking about? The Baker paper is very clear on this point. Environment is lever for the teen. So what the teen is repeatedly exposed to is what shapes the brain during this window. So what that means is the adults around the teen, and specifically the parents, I'll call you, are not peripheral to this process. You're not like NPC here, okay? They are, and you are central and essential to it. And this is exactly what I teach inside the Brain Toolkit in my program, Teen FND Academy. Parents' steady leadership is not a soft skill. It is a neurobiological input for your child, and I mean it. When you show up consistently, when you regulate your own nervous system first, I teach them pause and regulate first. And when you create this predictable and safe home environment, you're literally providing the condition that the brain needs to build new patterns for your child. And it's like you're being a safe incubator for your child's brain and development altogether. So think about what Baker's and colleagues describe as environmental enrichment. The idea that a supportive, growth-oriented environment actually promotes this positive neural reset and reorganization, the kind of reset your teen actually needs towards recovery. And that is not something that happens in a clinic, for example, like a therapy and treatment once a week, for example, or once every 3 months. This is like for real, something that happens at home every single day through the quality of your presence and your leadership as a parent. So you're not waiting for your teen's brain to change helplessly. You don't have to delegate that change to someone else. You are one of the primary conditions that makes change possible. And I really hope that you feel more empowered to help. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you need to continue to micromanage or nag your child just because it's not that. It is completely different. If you want to see how my full program of Teen FND Academy works and how it's helping families resolve FND for real, watch the video linked in the description box below. If this video was helpful for you and you want the step-by-step guide on how to actually support your teen's recovery from FND, I have a free resource called the Teen FND Family Action Plan, and it is a completely free, and the link is right below in the description box. Go grab it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video.